sport of tennis, but we are now in the midst of the worst season in U.S. men's tennis history. When Tim Smyczek, lost on Sunday, this year became the first time since the U.S. Open started in 1881 that no American man reached the fourth round. At Wimbledon, no American man even reached the third round. That's the first time it's happened since 1912. But is tennis facing an even broader crisis? To discuss this and more is Steve Bellamy, founder of the Tennis Channel. He is the CEO now of the Ski Channel and the Surf Channel, and he joins us here in the studio. Steve has also been around tennis his whole life. You run a bunch of tennis facilities in Los Angeles. Your wife was one of the top American tennis players in the world, so you are the guy to talk about this. What has happened to the homegrown American man tennis player? Let's look at what Tim Smyczek said this weekend. Okay.
I know that we got really spoiled with Pete and Andre and all those guys, and Andy for so many years.
And is that the case, or is it a problem with U.S. tennis in general that we're facing broader world competition and simply we're just not going to be as dominant as we once were?
You know, there's really a portfolio of answers that would take way longer than this segment to get into. But in general, tennis started out, along with, believe it or not, golf and bowling, as being the three sports that are really big TV sports. Baseball, football, and basketball came later. And we gestated internationally. We became global sport first. All the other sports became domestic sports. So they had local rooting, rivalries, and it was just a much more successful model. So basically what's happened in tennis is we have just globalized. And as we've corrected ourselves, so to speak, and probably those days are not going to come back again.
But tennis has been around in other places in the world for a long time. To take the other side of it, is this much ado about nothing? If you go back to the 60s and 70s, it was the Australians who were dominating for a while. It was the Swedes who were dominating too. Now it seems to be the Spanish. Is it just kind of a cyclical thing, and that we're all looking back at that moment when we had Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi and Michael Chang and Jim Courier? Maybe that was the aberration.
I think tennis has melted, and it is now forever melted. Will we have little hiccups where we do great? Sure, but I don't think you'll ever see the days where basically 50% of the famous people in tennis were American. It's just, if the sport is too global.
How much of the problem is it that we've got football and we've got baseball and we've got the other countries don't have? They're almost mostly American. We also have basketball and hockey, even golf competing for our best athletes. And in fact, those sports, actually many more people make money at them as professionals as do tennis players.
Yeah, the harsh reality is right now tennis is barely played in America. We used to have 75 pro tournaments in America, and now we have 15. You know, the big ones have done great. Indian Wells and Miami, and of course the U.S. Open is the biggest sporting event in the world. But for the rest of America, there really isn't tennis like there is baseball, basketball, football. If you're growing up in Chicago or Dallas, you're saturated with those big stick and ball sports where you're not tennis.
Another downfall is the college situation. If you're a baseball player or a football player, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of scholarships out there for those kids. While in tennis, it's much harder to get a college scholarship.
It's very challenging. You know, tennis is the most global sport outside of soccer, but for scholarships, America's the only place that really has a robust college system. So the whole globe is gunning for those college scholarships. So it really hurt.
Yeah, we have a quote from Athletic Resources CEO Jeff Hoffman, and he says that tennis coaches in college are recruiting more outside the U.S., so the scales have almost tipped to foreign players. So not only are there not that many scholarships, a lot of that money is going for people from outside the United States.
For sure. You go to countries like France, and there are agencies at racket clubs that literally just focus on getting kids there into American colleges. And then if you're a guy, take Title IX, which basically tried to fix discrimination against women and basically discriminated against minority non-revenue sports. And so American men only get 4 scholarships per team, and they field 10 to 12 on the team.
Because in effect, because they're all these other sports that men are getting scholarships.
Because football, there is no women's football team, so football gobbles up such a big part of the men's quotient that we don't have much for other sports.
Another issue for parents of competitive kids, of which both you and I are, tennis is ridiculously expensive. I mean, there are some calculations say that $400,000 to raise a kid to be able to be a professional tennis player. Most conservative calculations say that when you factor everything in, tennis rackets, tennis shoes, because these kids go through tennis shoes every couple of weeks, tennis strings, all indoor courts if you're in a cold part of the country, court time in most places, professional lessons, that it's at least $2,000 a month if you're a competitive player. In many cases, as much as $5,000 a month. Who can afford that?
It's a funny paradigm. On the one hand, there's been nothing more impervious to inflation than tennis outside of Matchbox cars. Tennis balls still cost $3 a can like they used to 30 years ago. Rackets are less expensive than they were 30 years ago. But lessons, going to tournaments, the travel, as we've shrunken our pool, it's forced the best players to travel more, and expenses have gone up a lot. I would still argue, though, that right now, if you're a competitive tennis player, you spend a lot of money, you're still pretty much guaranteed to get into a school you want to go to. You won't get as much of a scholarship, but it's really hard to get into college.
Yeah. It won't give you much return on your investment. So that can be rough. Now, one of the issues that's been much criticized in the press is that the United States Tennis Association, the USTA, spent a lot of money to develop some elite players, and that has not been very successful. Not enough money is going to the more general population. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there are 4 countries with slams that basically have giant pots of money to pour into player development: Australia, France, England, and the United States. 3 of them just have not worked. England's poured a fortune in there; it hasn't worked. Australia, has not worked. America, we poured a lot, not working. It's
We're seeing pictures right now. Sorry to interrupt, but one of the big efforts right now that's ongoing that is creating the 10, we call 10 and under tennis, which is to have kids play with smaller rackets on smaller courts with softer balls, so that little kids, even as young as 5, can really kind of hit the ball. And that's been one of the big things to try to get more kids into tennis. Does that work?
I think that it's too young in its life cycle to see if it's working. For 30 years, people have been using mini balls and small balls, short courts, mini rackets. Right now, this is the first time it's ever been packaged and really packaged and pitched to consumer America. So hopefully it will work.
Sports Illustrated's John Bernheim has said that one of the problems with U.S. tennis is that we've got a vicious cycle going. He says it's truly a vicious cycle. Fewer Americans in the upper ranks means lower ratings, interest, means less revenue. Fewer events in the United States means fewer Americans in the upper ranks. If that's the case, are we ever going to break this vicious cycle?
I think we are. I think that there's hungry, smart entrepreneurs in tennis still that are going to do things to fix this. Certainly, we as an industry are clearly understanding that there's a problem and clearly understanding there needs to be significant change. We can't go on like we've been. So I think that we've hit a bottom and we'll go up, just how fast.
To take the other side of the conventional wisdom, women's tennis, there are a lot of young up-and-coming women. We have 2 women in the top 20, Serena Williams and Sloane Stephens. So maybe not the best it's ever been, but maybe tennis isn't that bad. And we in doubles. Look at doubles. We've got the Bryan brothers are probably the best doubles players ever. The Williams sisters are probably the best doubles team too. So still, we have great tennis out there.
Yeah, tennis of its many management mistakes. I mean, we have the worst governance of any sport by far. You look at NBA basketball, Major League Football, NFL. There's a commissioner, one smart guy who makes decisions, some general oversight. You look at tennis, and it's governed by 80 organizations that have thousands of volunteers, and everything's done by committee. It's terrible governance. But take for instance doubles. Everyone plays doubles. It's played way more than singles. It's so fun to watch. It's arguably much better than singles. Yet we just squash it at all costs.
So we've got 30 seconds. How do you solve it?
It's a cocktail of things, and we could take a lot longer than 30 seconds, probably 25 seconds now. But in general, we've got to produce American stars. We've got to get more people just period playing tennis and loving the sport.
Well, let's hope the efforts to get there succeed, because it's a great sport, great for kids, great for adults. It's a lifelong sport, so we only wish tennis the best and hope that the stars start coming up soon and bring back American tennis to its former glory. Steve, great to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.